comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
Before I start this video, I'm going to say this. Spoiler warning for Avengers Endgame. Sorry. Do not watch this video if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame. The entire point has been already brought up by the thumbnail, the title, a little intro at the beginning, and this right here. Do not watch this video if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame. I'm serious. It's really not worth it. Anyway, we're going to talk some spoilers. And also, this video has hashtags on it so it gets more popular. But if you click don't click hashtags if you haven't seen the movie. I've done that already, even though I have seen the movie, so won't spoil it for me. But I've clicked hashtags and been able to find some stuff I think that is not very good that people could find. I guess I've been able to rewatch a couple scenes from the movie online, but that could help me here. But essentially the point is that don't click hashtags, don't go online, just go watch the movie, then come and watch this video. This video is going to be freaking huge. But let's talk about spoilers from Endgame. So since the movie's been out for, I don't know, a couple days, and it's 3 hours, I'm going to do some spoilers here. So yeah. Usually I start with a bit different of an intro, but let's jump right in, shall we? Okay, so the opening scene of this movie, essentially, I wasn't surprised when I noticed it was going to be the opening scene. It's essentially Hawkeye is hanging out with his family, and his family turns to dust. You see them all having fun together, and all of a sudden he's training his daughter how to use a bow and arrow, and he looks away, he looks back, and there's just dust flying away. He's like, I'm forgetting what her name is. He's like, daughter. He looks over. His whole family's dust. He doesn't get to see them turn to dust. He just sees dust floating. He's like, what? What? He's freaking out. And I like this scene as a good opening to the movie because it really shows us how tragic and how heartbreaking the ending of Infinity War was. But it really just kind of brings you back into the mood of what the movie's going to be like. It kind of brings you back, and it also sets up a character in the movie. So yeah, I like this opening scene. I think it works in the movie, and it sets up the movie right. I think Jeremy John's already pointed this out, but I don't think they put enough time between Hawkeye realizing his family had disappeared and the Marvel logo, because when the Marvel logo plays, I'm forgetting what song it plays. It plays some kind of popish old song, I don't know. But when that song is playing, there's not a lot of separation between the opening scene and the logo. I feel like there could have been a bit of a separation there to make it really sink in, and then we get to the logo, and then we get into the movie. So first it shows, we'll get whatever. Then it shows Tony Stark and Nebula. They're playing some like football kind of game, I guess. They're playing some football at a table, and Nebula's having fun, and she's doing good at the game. And anyway, Tony Stark goes over and they do the scene from the first Endgame teaser. You remember that one scene where he clicks the mask and he goes like, "There's this thing on." He gives this message to Pepper. He goes over to the mask and he gives the message to Pepper. I like the scene. I don't know why I even break down the whole movie. You already seen the movie before, or you already seen Endgame by now. But essentially, the point is that he goes over and he records a message, and he just is like, if I die, don't be sad. He never says explicitly, I'm gonna die. Then he goes and he sits up in the front cab. I guess he lies down. Nebula puts him up into the front seat. And also there's a glowing light. I'm thinking, Captain Marvel found them. And boom, Captain Marvel found them. Captain Marvel brings the ship back to Earth. And now I had to infer this later, but it seems like that scene at the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel wasn't a clip from Endgame. It was a clip pre-Endgame. Like they found that little device that, what's his name? Nick Fury was carrying around, and Captain Marvel came there. They kind of regrouped. So it seems like, yeah, that was a thing. Anyway, so yeah, that happens. So Captain Marvel brings it back. Tony Stark and they all reunite. They're all together again. Thor, I guess, feels guilty, which makes sense because he didn't aim for the head. We'll get to that later. And then they're all sitting there in this room, and they're all planning, okay, what do we do? And then they're like, okay, so recently a big power surge happened on this one planet. The biggest power surge of the universe ever was on our planet when he did the snap, but it happened again at another planet, something even bigger. They're like, okay, let's go get him. And Tony Stark kind of freaks out. I really like the way they made Tony Stark look skinny. It was really kind of sad, but it worked, and I liked it. It was good, and it looked good. It looked realistic. And he like collapses on the ground. He's in the hospital. I don't think he went with them to space. But anyway, all the Avengers are like, let's go to space. Let's just go to space right now. And they all go to space. And then he goes, let's. So they're all. Blah, blah, blah. So plays that one clip from the one clip they released way before the movie. And then he goes, and then the Avengers Endgame logo plays on screen. After they've all regrouped and they're like, okay, we know where Thanos is. We're going to go kill him. Or at least we're going to go get the stones. And we're going to bring everybody back by snapping our fingers. So then they all get on. And then it says Avengers Endgame. And it shows them all on the ship. And at this point in the movie, I was thinking, it's 3 hours, right? Why are we moving so fast? And then, so I was actually thinking, okay, maybe Thanos, maybe they'll go there, there'll be a big battle with Thanos, we'll just kick their butts. And then later in the movie, they'll have to go kill Thanos again. But they go to the planet, and Thanos, he's living a cool life, you know? He doesn't live a very complex or big life. One question I do have is, why does he still have the Infinity Gauntlet? We'll explain that later. But Captain Marvel just kind of flies in and just, like, holds Thanos, just holds him there. All the Avengers come in and hold him still. And then I believe Thor comes in and cuts his arm off. And at that point I was like, oh my god. Okay, what's going on? And then they look on the gauntlet. There are no Infinity Stones. And they're like, he has to be... And Thanos is like, I destroyed the Infinity Stones. The universe required a sacrifice. So he destroyed all the Infinity Stones with the Infinity Stones. They're like, he must be lying. And then Nebula says, I know my father. And my father is many things. Not a liar. And I like that. That's good. It's just as good. And then they're all just sitting there. They're all like, wait, what do we do? And then Thor just wipes his head, just slam, clean off. Thanos is dead. Yeah, Thanos dies. At the very beginning of the movie, the first like 20 minutes. Thanos is dead. Who did that not surprise? When that happened, I was like, what the... Okay, and then they go like, what did you do? And then Thor goes, I aimed for the head. And I was like, good on you. And then 5 years later, I guess that wasn't super surprising to me, at least. I mean, I kind of predicted there would be a time jump in the movie as long as it's 3 hours long. But it does it very like, no. This is 5 years later. You're just thinking, oh no. And then it cuts to Captain America like a circle, one of those therapy circles. And he's talking to all of them like, we all need to like move on. And one thing let's rewind a bit. It's rewind time. It was forced. I'm gonna go get water real quickly. If you guys don't understand, the marketing for this movie marketed the first 20 minutes of the movie. It really did. It basically just showed us, this is what the first 20 minutes of this movie are gonna be. Really nothing. Like, that's literally what the marketing shows. Those trailers, like, there's footage in it of later in the movie, but the point of those trailers is to show you, like, they're gonna go get Thanos, and they're gonna go get the stones and kill him. And then look, all the promotion setting up, the plot is they're gonna go and get Thanos, kill him, and get the stones. They're gonna bring everybody back, which is kinda what happens. Kinda. It's really loose description of the movie. But that's the first 20 minutes of the movie. They marketed the first 20 minutes of the movie. That was hilarious to me. I was kind of hoping that the marketing for this movie would just be showing us the first hour or so, and then the next 2 hours we wouldn't know what happened at all. But I guess not. They kind of did that. But kind of not. What? Jeez. Anyway, now we can go back to when I started talking about Captain America in the Circle. A lot of you haven't talked about this one reference in the Circle. Everybody in the Circle is talking. They're all talking about their problems after the snap. And anyway, the person who's actually talking, and one civilian are talking, I was thinking, is that him? That is, I think, Joe or Anthony Russo. It's one of the Russo brothers. I don't know why nobody else pointed that out. That's a cool reference. I like how they made a little cameo in their movie. That's good on them. But Cap's leading like a group of people, and they're trying to recover from the snap, trying to move on, but they really can't. And then, I'm trying to remember, who do we cut to next? The next person who we cut to is Future. I think we get to... What are you doing? Oh my god. I have a cat. There's a cat over there. Stop it. Oh my god. Cats are horrible sometimes. But from what I can understand, Black Widow is kind of part of this council of people. It's like, this group of people now kind of protect the universe. They all report problems, bad things that happen, things that have succeeded that have happened, and stuff like that. And then they talk about this one guy who had like, holy crap. But Black Widow is essentially really sad. She wants to get Hawkeye back because Hawkeye is apparently like a mass murdering kind of vigilante guy. He's like Batman, but he actually kills. Zack Snyder, idiot director. But anyway, Black Widow is really sad. She starts crying. Cap walks in, and then they just kind of talk about how they need to move on from the snap. That was 5 years ago. Some people have lost, but we got to move on. And then all of a sudden, a message pops up on, and apparently Ant-Man's at the door because Ant-Man was been in the quantum realm for 5 years, which for some reason nobody else predicted that. I didn't think of that. That's cool. Ant-Man's been in the quantum realm for 10 years or 5 years because some stupid rat actually pressed the button. And anyway, when he was in the quantum realm, it was like 5 hours apparently for him, but he gets out of the cage where his old van is, and then he goes to his daughter's house, and his daughter's like 16, and it's really sad because he missed 5 years of his daughter's life. And one thing I do, okay, I'll bring this up later. This is way later in the spoiler review, this moment of the movie. But anyway, he goes to his daughter, and he's like, wait a minute, hold up. I've been gone for 5 years, haven't I? And he goes to Cap and Nat's place, and he's like, okay, so I was in the quantum realm for 5 years, and then they're like, that must have been a long 5 years, and he's like, actually, it was 5 hours, because time works differently in the quantum realm. But I thought, what if we could control it, and we could reverse time, and we could pick a certain time, and save the people? And then Cap's like, hold up, we could do that. We need somebody smart to fix this problem. Then, I'm like, oh, we're going to get to see what Tony Stark's been doing the last 5 years. And then we see him, he's built a cabin in the woods, and he has a daughter, which I was hoping would happen. I was really hoping he'd have a kid in this movie, at least at the end, if that could be the end of his story, or if just in general, he has a kid in this movie. And he has a little kid, her name is Morgan, and I already knew her name would be Morgan because I watched Infinity War right before I saw Endgame, which, by the way, that movie is so good. Every time I watch Infinity War, I like it even more. Beyond that, in it he says, I dreamed we had a kid, we named him after your uncle or whatever, named Morgan, or it was either aunt or something. They have a kid named Morgan, a daughter specifically named Morgan. And anyway, Cap and Ant-Man and all those guys and Nat, they all show up to the house, and Iron Man, Tony Stark, he kind of doesn't care about time travel anymore. He kind of doesn't care. He's like, I don't really need to get everybody back. I have a life now. I like my life now. And then they're like, okay, great. So he can't help us. So now we need to find a new smart guy. And then I'm like, oh, we're gonna go meet the Hulk. Then we go see the Hulk. And this is really cool. I really like this. But Bruce Banner and the Hulk, they've merged. They've come to peace. And now Bruce Banner walks around as the Hulk, and he can talk, and he can be scientific, and I liked that. That was cool for his character in the movie. He was very exciting. He was very funny. I liked him doing that. That was good. Good on you, Marvel. God, they do a lot of things with some characters in that 5 years that a lot of people probably hated. I enjoyed them, but I liked Hulk. I liked how he was just, now he's like a normal, now he talks like just Bruce Banner. No more smash Hulk. No, we got a better Hulk now, and I like this Hulk. No, I don't know if I like it more than the other one, because one of the best parts about Hulk is how crazy he is. We're going to get more Hulk, probably in Black Panther 2 or Doctor Strange 2. So, who knows? So, Bruce Banner agrees to help them build this time machine. And they're like, we need to get the whole team. And anyway, Tony Stark has actually been building some form of a time machine. I didn't get this plot point, so I guess he's actually been building a time machine for I don't know how long. And then eventually he's like, I feel like I should just dump it away. And then I think he just goes there because he's like, I'm going to forget my time machine idea and see what they can do with theirs. Or I think he might help them with theirs. Or has he been researching this forever? Or I really don't know how that plot point worked. I do think it would have been better if they just kind of... I do like when he's sitting there and he looks over and he sees a picture of Peter and he's like, oh God, I need to help this. I feel bad for losing Peter Parker 5 years ago. I like this. I like this plot point here. I feel like it could have been better if they just didn't have him trying to make a time machine. It just made him like look at the picture and think, I'm going to help them. So that's what he would do. But whatever. He goes over, he goes to that place and he has Cap's new, he like refurbished Cap's shields, I guess. And he gives it to Cap. He's like, try and keep it hidden. I didn't get one for every single one of the team. It's like, we are getting the team together. They do get the team together. And then they're like, okay, let's go get Thor. And then they go to New Asgard. Apparently Thor built a town in, I guess, Norway probably, called New Asgard. And it's a fishing town or whatever. Valkyrie's there, which I was cool because I like Valkyrie. The Hulk, and I think Hulk and Rocket both go over. Or maybe somebody else. They go over, and yep, a lot of people are going to be mad at this, but Thor is a fat alcoholic who's with Korg and Meek, who play Fortnite. This is the worst part about this entire movie. Not Thor at all. It's literally what I just said. Korg plays Fortnite. That is just forced. I hate that. That's going to be so dated one day. That was, I don't know whose decision it was. They never even mentioned Fortnite, so clearly this movie was filmed before Fortnite became so big. But honestly, whose decision was it to put Fortnite in that scene? Whoever it was, break you. I cringed so hard when I saw Fortnite, and I was like, oh god. And then the video game thing was funny, but just make it like Call of Duty or something, because that wouldn't be so dated. I mean, sure, you might say, oh no, Call of Duty is dated, but make a game that's lived on longer than Fortnite, because Fortnite's kind of freaking dead now. I don't see nearly as many views behind Fortnite. I don't hear as many people talking about it. So that was dumb. That shouldn't have been in the movie. Now that's like my one problem with this entire movie. But anyway, so they're like, Thor, come on, we need to get everybody back. And I guess Thor is convinced too, and he's like, you guys got beers? And they're like, yeah, we do. So they got Thor on the team. They got Iron Man, Cap, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, Black Widow, and then they're like, I'm gonna get Black Widow. I guess I got War Machine too. Black Widow goes over, and they got Rocket. God, I keep forgetting people. Nebula. Okay, so back to this. They don't got Captain Marvel though. Weirdly, I thought she was gonna be a lot more in this movie, but she's barely in the movie at all. She's in it at the end. That's kind of it. But anyway, I keep saying, but anyway, that's my quote of the day. But anyway, okay, so so they all decide to go, or whoever. Dang it. Yeah, Black Widow decides to go get Ronan, or now Hawkeye. I'm gonna call him Ronan in this video because that's what he is. And we see him like fighting some Japanese mafia or something. I don't know, some Japanese bad guys. He has a sword fight with a Japanese guy. He murders the guy, and yeah, him and Black Widow are like, we can get your family back. We have a way. So then they go back to the Avengers base. Now we kinda have the Avengers, kinda, just a bit. We don't have every single Avenger here. We don't have any of the ones who've dusted. I think we have every single Avenger except for Captain Marvel, who didn't get dusted. And Okoye. Okoye doesn't go with them. But then they're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to find every single Infinity Stone in different times, and we're going to try and get it. We're going to get Iron Man Tech Bolts and Infinity Gauntlet, which a lot of people have been criticizing. I'm going to defend why Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet's okay to me. Okay. Jeez. So they're like, alright, let's see if we can find out times they're all here. And it takes a while. But Thor is able to give them the location of the ether. It's in, what's her face? Natalie Portman, or Jane, I guess. She has the ether in her at the time, so they have to like inject something into her and get the stone. But I'm forgetting. When I was in that scene, I was thinking, there's a better time to get that Infinity Stone. And now I'm remembering it. It's the Collector. Steal it from the Collector. Because remember that place blew up? I mean, yeah. Okay, now I think about it. Yeah, Rocket would have known. Hold up. Yeah, Rocket was with the team when they were trying to find the Infinity Stones. Rocket was with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So he knew that the Infinity Stone was with the Collector. They could have gotten it then. I'm just saying, that could have worked for them, honestly. But they don't do that. They decide to go have some shenanigans in Asgard. So then they're like, okay, that's where the ether is. Then they're like, okay, so where is the Soul Stone? And that's on Vormir. So they decide to go. So then, I guess Black Widow and Hawkeye are going to Vormir. We'll get to that scene later. Yikes. But yeah, I was trying to think, actually, I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll talk about it later. But there was a time where they're like, wait a minute. There were 3 Infinity Stones in New York at the same time. And that was at the Battle of the Avengers. And they're like, yep. So they send a group of people just at that time. So we get to go back to Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, and Thor the Dark World. I do not care to go back to Thor: The Dark Worlds, but Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, come on, that's awesome. And anyway, they're like, okay, we're gonna go back in time. They all go back into time, and then now we're gonna get to it. So first, we're gonna talk about everything like. So I've broken this down like this. We're gonna talk about everything that happens with the Avengers. We're gonna talk about. I guess we can also go back to Infinity War. I mentioned the 3 movies we go back to, but I guess we also kind of go back to Infinity War. We're gonna talk first about what happens with the Avengers. Then we're gonna talk about what happens at Asgard. Then we're going to talk about everything that happens on Morag, and then we're going to talk about everything that happens when, what was it, at Vormir, and I'm going to talk about them actually getting the Tesseract and the Pym particle, that scene. We're going to talk about that finally. Okay, first with the Avengers flashback, and I've been talking a lot, so I need water real quickly. Alright, the Avengers flashback. Or I guess going back to the Avengers. They send a team of people, I'm not remembering everybody, but Hulk is gonna go get the Time Stone. Who else? What else do we got? Hulk is gonna go get the Time Stone. Cap is gonna go get the. I believe he's getting the Mind Stone, or he's getting the Mind Stone. Cap, Ant-Man, and Iron Man are all gonna go get the Tesseract and the Mind Stone. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so Cap is getting the Mind Stone. Ant-Man and Iron Man are getting the Time Stone. Not time. Tesseract. Jeez, why am I so bad at this? And Tesseract is also in Captain Marvel for no reason, and that's more criticism for Captain Marvel for you guys. They all now, I'm out of breath because I've been talking for 21 minutes now. The Avengers first, okay. So they get up into Stark Tower, and they're like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Ant-Man is going to go inside of the case of the Tesseract, get the Tesseract kind of out of it, I guess. And how they're going to do that is they're going to deactivate Iron Man's arc reactor so he stops being able to, I guess, or they're not going to deactivate it, they're going to make it glitch out. And they're also, and to get the Mind Stone, I'm going to talk about that one first. So, Cap decides to go, and he goes into the elevator with all his shield, and he's like, Fury wants me to take the Mind Stone, or Fury wants me to take the scepter, and they're like, sir, we can't give you the scepter. We'll talk to our authorities. And he's like, no, it's okay. But I really like the reminiscent of the Winter Soldier. I was thinking that entire scene, I was thinking he was going to say, before we get started, does anyone want to get off? I was like thinking, please say that, but he didn't. And it would have been cool if they actually did that. That would be hilarious if they kind of try as best as they can to recreate that scene. But that's one of the best scenes in the Winter Soldier. Might be my favorite scene in that movie. Okay, car chase. Okay, fight with Bucky and Cap at the end. Okay, the entire end. That movie's just awesome. Anyway, back to this movie. He's like, it's okay. He whispers in the guy's ear, "Hail Hydra," because he knows they're Hydra. He takes the Mind Stone, and he walks out of the elevator. And then, with the stupid Tesseract, so the whole thing messes up, apparently. I'm forgetting what happens, I think. Tony Stark is gonna go get he's gonna grab the Tesseract, and what happens is he actually does grab it to take it after Iron Man's arc reactor has been messed up. He actually goes to grab it and take it. Then, stupidly, the stupid Hulk didn't like to go down the stairs, so he busted through the wall, and Iron Man got hit, and he flew back to the wall. The Tesseract rolls over, and Loki grabs it, opens it, teleports away, setting up for the Loki show. That door just closed. I probably should have closed it earlier, but it closed. I actually really wish I was able to talk about Disney Plus when that happened. I was really busy. That was the day that they released the Star Wars 9 trailer, so I wasn't able to talk about it, but I really want to talk about all the things they announced at Disney Plus. But essentially, we do get Falcon and Winter Soldier, a Loki show, and I guess we're also getting a Wanda and Vision show, which I'm all excited for all 3 of those. But Loki's basically set up by him taking that Tesseract, teleporting away, and we're going to get shenanigans with Loki, I guess, which will be cool. Oh, that'll be cool. So Iron Man's like, okay, so we lost the Time Stone, but I know a time when the Time Stone and the Pym particle were in the exact same location. Now it cuts to Hulk getting the Time Stone. Space Stone, it's Tesseract. Time Stone, I keep mixing those 2 up. Or Mind Stone, or whatever. So the Time Stone, Hulk goes over and he's like, I kind of need that Mind Stone, or that Time Stone. And she's like, I'm sorry, I can't give that to you. And then she explains to him what happens with the realities. If you take the Time Stone for our reality and put it in yours, sure, yeah, your reality goes good, but our reality is going to kind of descend into chaos, and I kind of can't let that happen. So he's like, but what if we take that Mind Stone and then bring it back to the exact time so nothing ever changed, so that they never even took the time stone. And of course they go, the time stone I keep running out of breath. The time stone he's okay, so I also forgot Tilda Swinton. I forgot to mention she's in this movie, and I was very excited for her because she's probably my favorite character in Doctor Strange. I was very excited to see her back on screen. But she's like, I can't bet the fate of our universe in the hands of a promise. So yeah, no, I can't give it to you. And then Hulk says like, Dr. Stephen Strange will be the supreme sorcerer one day. And that's what she says. And he's like, but he gives up the time stone. She's like, wait, what? Okay, no, you can take your time stone. You can go, and then you bring it back to that exact time and save your universe. Please do that. Still, that scene doesn't make sense to me, but I do not feel like breaking it down. Okay, so problem with the thing that doesn't make sense to me about the scene is, why did that convince her to give the time stone over? It kind of does make sense to me, but it kind of doesn't, so I just won't think about it. But anyway, they are able to acquire the time stone, so now they got the time stone and the mind stone. They still got 4 stones left. They don't got the soul stone, they don't got the tesseract, or just the space stone. They don't have the reality stone, and which one else do they don't have? Now I'm kind of just running out of breath here. They don't soul. They've mind. God, I'm confused now. They don't have soul. They don't have space. They don't have time. No, whatever. Who cares? They're gonna go get all the rest of the stones. That was really awkward there. They're going to go grab all the rest of the stones, so you can tell I'm really out of breath right now. Talking for almost a half an hour, jeez. I can talk a long time. I really can. If I was an efficient, fast-paced talking person, this video would be done, but it isn't. Now I'm going to get to the Dark World. Even though I could get to the flashback where they get the flashback, I keep calling it flashback. When they go to get the Tesseract and the Pym Particle, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to when they go to the Dark World. They all go. So Rocket and Thor go to the Dark Worlds. And Thor's really nervous here. He's like, uh-oh, my mom dies today. And also, I don't think I can really get to Natalie Portman and charm her. So it gets really complex. And when Thor's walking through the halls, his mom finds him. And she's like, you're not Thor from normal day. You're from the future. And he's like, yeah, I'm from the future. And then they have a conversation. She gives him wisdom. I do like the advice she says. She says, don't become the person... I forgot what it was. It was like, don't become the person you were meant to be. Become the person you are. Be the person... Don't be the person you were meant to be. Be the person you are. I like that. And that is a good quote. You just be whatever you want. That's basically what that quote's saying. And it's smart. And I like it. And I'm really out of breath right now. More water. I've almost drank this whole thing already. And we're not done yet. Rocket sneaks up on Natalie Portman, injects the thing into her, and gets the ether out of her. Now, we have the 3 of the stones. And then Thor is sitting there, and he's like, wait a minute, can this work? And he does it, and then boom, he's got Mjolnir. And that universe is doomed now because they don't got Mjolnir. They really don't have Mjolnir. That's sad. So, anyway, he takes Mjolnir, and then they go back to the normal universes, I guess, or I think they're done. I think they don't know exactly where they go. I think they go back to the normal time. And then Ant-Man goes back to normal time, while Tony Stark and Captain America go to a different time in the 70s. Now we're going to get some Morag. So when they're on Morag, it's Nebula and War Machine, and they're like, okay. So at this time, I guess Peter Quill lands on Morag and walks over to get that stone at the Temple of the Power Stone, or whatever, or the Temple of the Orb, or whatever they call it. And then, when she's walking, apparently it triggers something in the other Nebula from that timeline to show War Machine and someone memory. And Thanos is like, wait a minute, hold up. Wait a minute. And then they kind of research it. We get Ma, that's what I'm going to call him, Ma, because I remember him saying in Infinity War, I take it the Ma's dead. Or I guess the Ma, or Thama, or whatever. We're going to call him Ma, because Ma's a cool name. They're researching about this nebula, but they're going to Nebula, and they're like, okay, so on Nebula's network, there are 2 nebulas now, because apparently the Bluetooth or whatever messes up. And then Thanos is like, this isn't another nebula. This is, or I guess Ma's like, this is another nebula, but it's nebula 9 years into the future. And they're like, wait, what the heck? 9 years into the future? So yeah, that's kind of how it goes down. Yeah. Thanos learns that he acquires every Infinity Stone, snaps his fingers, wipes half of existence out. He has to destroy the stones and gets killed. He learns all of this and he's like, okay, so I know I succeed. And then he's like, I'm going to go to Earth and I'm going to obliterate the planet. I'm just going to obliterate this universe because apparently people just can't stay off of the fact that half of everybody died. We'll get to that later. And then what he does is so once War Machine and Nebula get the Power Stone, Thanos captures the normal Nebula, or the Nebula from the future, takes the golden piece from her head, puts it onto the Nebula from his time, sends her with the Avengers so that she can get the Infinity Gauntlet, or can just in general destroy the Avengers and stop them from stopping everything, or just say stopping Thanos from his goal. Then we cut to Tony Stark and Captain America, and they go back in time to a time at this military base. And at this military base, apparently, I guess Dr. Pym, Hank Pym, which means he has the Pym particle, is at the same location as the Tesseract. And when they go there, Tony Stark goes and he finds Howard Stark. He gets to have a conversation with Howard Stark, and they're about the same age at that time. And he gets to talk with him, and Howard Stark's like, my wife is expecting. I'm about to have a kid. And it's kind of cool. As Tony Stark takes the Tesseract, they have a nice little conversation. And it's a good little moment, because Tony Stark never got to say bye to his dad. But here, he actually gets to talk with his dad. And he gets to have a great conversation with his dad. I really like that scene. That was really good. That was really good development. And we even get to see Jarvis, like the actual Jarvis. And you can tell it's the same actor as Vision. But I don't care. I like that actually Jarvis is in the movie. Like we get to see the original Jarvis. That's cool. Jarvis, weirdest person in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He kind of just lived, and he was Howard Stark's assistant. Later, he became a computer voice for Tony Stark. Later, said computer voice was put into a pink guy, and now he's Vision. Oh, and he also has an Infinity Stone in his head that gets ripped out and he dies. That's the story of Jarvis, everybody. And when Cap's going to get the Pym particle, I guess, or he's getting, I think he gets the Pym particle, yeah. He goes in and he sees Peggy Carter on the other side of the window, and it's all sad, and it's like, no, do not be manipulated, you gotta get that Power Stone. And this is almost my longest spoiler review. We're not even close to being done with this movie. Not even close. But he gets that, he is able to get the Pym particle, so they can go back to the future. And they even referenced that movie earlier, and they even referenced that it's crap, that if you change something in the past, it changes in the future. Because they're like, no, there's multiple timelines. If you change something in the past, a new timeline is created, and then said new timeline thing that would change in the future, that you think would change in the future, like let's say in Back to the Future, what would really happen is if Marty McFly, if the two people who Marty McFly's parents never met, and they never got to, Marty McFly would disappear, but oh, okay, whatever. It was just some stupid little message up on my camera because this video is so freaking huge. Anyway, so they essentially say, okay, so if you actually change something in the past, it changes another timeline. It creates another timeline, which makes more sense than changing the future. Changing the past changes the future. And I like that explanation more, and it gives them more of a round. But I don't understand time travel. Who does? But anyway, the Avengers, every single one, is able to make it back to the future. But we gotta still get to Vormir. So on Vormir, Hawkeye and Black Widow are there. You know, we get to see Red Skull again. And he's talking to them, and he's like, in order to take the Soul Stone, one must be sacrificed. And they're like, okay, somebody's gonna die. One of us is gonna die. And I like the scene. They both kind of fight for who wants to die. They both feel, I have to die. I have the most burden on me. You feel like Hawkeye's gonna die, and you're like, oh no, Black Widow. Oh no, Hawkeye. And then they're actually hanging on and Hawkeye actually makes it to jump. Black Widow shoots a rope at him, like to grab onto his leg, or whatever. Hawkeye's holding her, and he can't really hold her up, and she's like, let me go, dude, let me go. And then she actually jumps off, falls, in the same position of Gamora, falls, and dies. And then Hawkeye has the Soul Stone now. Now they have every Infinity Stone, I think. I hope I didn't miss one. Yep. Yeah, they were able to get Power Stone, Mind Stone, Soul Stone, Space Stone, Reality Stone, and Time Stone. So now they come back and they're like, okay, poor Nat died, and they're all sad. And then they're like, we gotta finish this. They get the Infinity Gauntlet. They put every single Infinity Stone on the Infinity Gauntlet, and also Thanos. I'm still confused at this point, but I think Thanos successfully travels his ship back in time. Let me think about this real quickly. Oh, yeah, now I'm remembering. Okay, so, let me get that down. Which means I'm going to have to get a little bit of a more battery in here, because this thing is dying off of me talking for so freaking long. And we're at our longest spoiler review at this point, no doubt about it. What a twist that this is my longest spoiler review. It's not like I have the most spoiler thoughts of all time. But they are able to bring Thanos' ship to the 2024 time? So the ship is in the sky now. And anyway, now they all are kind of hanging out. And now what am I talking about? Yeah, so they get the Infinity Stones all into this Iron Man gauntlet. And a lot of people are like, really? What's the point of going to that one place and having a star create a gauntlet if Iron Man tech can do it? But one thing you do realize is once Hulk puts on that gauntlet, the gauntlet's kind of fried immediately. Like, it doesn't last very long. And that makes sense, right? So I'm not saying Iron Man tech should be able to hold every Infinity Stone, but I'm saying it's a lot less of, like, going to that star was a good idea. It would have worked. It works better than the whatever thing that Iron Man has, because when the snap actually happens, weirdly enough, the gauntlet in Infinity War gets fried up, and in this movie, it doesn't get fried up. It kind of stays the same. But they do snap, but Hulk puts on the gauntlet. He's like, I'm the strongest one here. All of you guys would die. He puts the gauntlet on, he snaps his fingers, and boom, half of everybody's back. That half that died 5 years ago, they all are back. And we're kind of given a glimpse of this, but they're like, guys, I think it worked. And then the whole freaking place blows up because Thanos is there. He shoots missiles at it. The whole thing just blows to smithereens. And now all the Avengers, they all get up from the rubble. Iron Man, Ant-Man's able to bring out all the Avengers from the bottom of the rubble. And Cap, Thor, and Iron Man are all standing there. And they see Thanos from the normal timeline up on the top of the ship. Or just sitting there with his staff with the helmet on it. And they're like, this time let's kill him right. Thor now has the hammer and the axe. Cap's got a shield. Iron Man's got a suit. They all walk up. And they kind of talk for a bit. They're all like ready to battle. And Thanos is like, it's nice to know that I succeed. It's nice to know I win. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get every Infinity Stone. And I'm going to shred this universe down till it's nothing. And I'm going to make a new one. People will know only peace. And I'm forgetting what he says. And he says, how will you make that? And then he says, they won't be able, you won't, because you'll be dead. And you won't be able to tell them that war exists. And then a big battle goes on. And surprisingly enough, without that gauntlet, without any Infinity Stones, Thanos holds his own against these three Avengers. He does get pretty beat up, but he can hold his own against these three Avengers with his big sword staff thing. And anyway, Gamora's like, wait a minute. She frees the normal Nebula. They go and kill the past Nebula. And then they're like, alright, let's go save the universe. And then Thanos, he battles all the Avengers. He kind of knocks Iron Man down. He knocks Cap down. I think what happens is Thor throws his hammer. Thanos lifts up Iron Man and the hammer hits him. And that looks like it hurt. And Cap gets kind of hit back. And Thor battles Thanos. And as Thor has the axe come to him, Thanos grabs the axe, is stabbing it into Thor's chest. And I was thinking, uh-oh, is he going to die? And you see the hammer kind of lifting up. And you're like, okay. The hammer's going to come to Thor. And it's going to, bam, hit Thanos in the head. And bam, it hits Thanos in the head. It goes back and goes past Thor. And then, boom, Captain America catches it. And in my theater, and even Thor says this, but in my theater, everybody in the theater started cheering, and one guy just screaming, I knew it, I knew it. And Thor even says, I knew it. And now Cap is worthy. He uses the hammer, he beats Thanos up, and he kind of loses the hammer, and with his shield, he kind of defends Thanos off, and all the other Avengers have been kind of beaten up at this point. and his shield is like cut off, and like the front of it's all cut off, and he's like beaten back. He's totally beaten down. Thanos goes back to his ship. He gets his entire Chitauri army. There's a huge army there, all the big snakes, everything. There's a gigantic army. And Captain America just walks over, and with this shield, with his mighty shield, we see that one shot in the trailer of him just strapping it down. Well, we see that here, but instead the top of the shield is cut off. And then he just straps that shield and he walks over. He looks completely beaten up. He walks over, and one of the best shots in the MCU, in my opinion, is the shot with Captain America on one side, kind of a little divot, and then the entire army on the other. It looks beautiful. It looks so cool. He stands there and he's holding his broken shields, and then a portal comes behind him. He looks over, and then out of the portal comes Wakanda. Everybody from Wakanda who died just walks out of Wakanda. Black Panther's there, Okoye's there, all those guys, all those homies, they're all there. And then, out of a bunch of portals start appearing, everyone from Titan comes over. So we got Doctor Strange, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man swings in. And I remember in my theater, there's one teenage girl just saying like, come on, please, please, please. And then Spider-Man swings in. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man. There are portals appearing everywhere. And then Black Panther's doing this, and he does this bomb back thing. There are armies coming out of every single portal. And there's going to be mayhem. All the other Avengers come. Iron Man comes. Thor comes. All the Avengers that were at the bottom of the rubble, they all come, and there's a huge army, just a gigantic army. More people come in. Valkyrie on her horse comes in. Yeah, all the people from Valkyrie come in. A bunch of wizards come in. Wong comes in. They have a huge army, and Captain America, as he stands there, says, Avengers, assemble. And at that point, everybody in my theater started cheering. I was cheering. I was like, yeah, this is so cool. And then we get the best battle. I've seen people on the internet raving about this battle. It is insane. Everything in the MCU is here. Pepper comes with her Iron Man suit. We see Iron Man and Pepper have a little part where they're fighting off people. Wanda's there. She's beating up people, you know. Captain America's killing people. Thor's killing people. A Black Panther, he's running around. He's using his tech. There's even a whole part where he's just running around murdering people. Spider-Man's doing stuff. Spider-Man gets to hold the Infinity Gauntlet. Pretty cool for him. Then they're like, okay, Thanos wants that Infinity Gauntlet. So now they have a huge game of just football with the Infinity Gauntlet. They have to catch it. They bring it around. Spider-Man gets to sit on Valkyrie's horse, and he's holding the Infinity Gauntlet on Valkyrie's horse. He jumps off. They pass it around. The Infinity Gauntlet kind of just gets thrown around everywhere. And eventually, after a kind of a hard time, like the battle's getting really bad, all the guns are aiming down. They're all firing at them, and they're like, sir, we still have men down there. And they're like, I don't care. Aren't their guns just firing down? And all of a sudden, all guns stop. They all aim up, and they're like, why are they aiming up? And they're like, something's entered the atmosphere at super fast. And I was like, oh yeah, Captain Marvel flies in and just blows up that ship. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember my problem with Captain Marvel of her being just way too overpowered. She's just too overpowered. I don't need Captain Marvel fly, like she's just too much. Tone her down, guys, come on. But Captain Marvel does kind of blow the crap out of everybody. She flies down, she has a little battle with Thanos. There's a part where Wanda kind of almost murders Thanos. She's like destroying him, and then the gun stuff happens. But it was cool to see Wanda do a lot and almost kill Thanos. Thanos is almost dead. Captain Marvel, I think Spider-Man's running around with the Infinity Gauntlet. He's kind of holding it there. We see, oh yeah, Groot's back. I forgot Groot. Groot's back. There's also a moment where Star-Lord walks up to Gamora, and he's like, Gamora, I thought you died, and Gamora like beats him up. Huh. But Gamora and Nebula, so Gamora's back. I guess Gamora's alive, whatever. Kind of a past Gamora. But yeah, she's back, and I'm really out of breath right now. There's so much insanity with this final third act. It's insane. But eventually Thanos, after a long battle, Captain Marvel's holding the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos does this. I think Thanos is able to kind of acquire the Infinity Gauntlet. Captain Marvel's kind of holding on to it. And then she like has a shield on, and then Thanos just headbutts, and it just bounces right off and does nothing. And then eventually Thanos does this cool thing where he takes the Power Stone from his Infinity Gauntlet and just punches Captain Marvel. Late at this scene, I was like, okay, good, Captain Marvel's not going to defeat Thanos. That'd be kind of dumb. But Captain Marvel's pushed back, and then Doctor Strange, who's also in the battle earlier on, Iron Man says, 14 million outcomes, tell me this is the one we win. And he says, if I tell you, it won't happen. So then Iron Man goes over, and Doctor Strange looks at him. He like holds a finger like that, like you got this. And then Iron Man goes over, and he like struggles for the Infinity Gauntlet, and then he gets just pushed back, and then Thanos is like, I am inevitable. And then nothing happens. Half of the universe doesn't die, the universe doesn't get shredded, nothing like that happens. And then we cut over to Iron Man, and on his glove, we have every single Infinity Stone. He's sitting there, you can see the power going through, kind of burning his arm. And then, with his Iron Man glove, he's sitting there, every Infinity Stone on this, and then he goes, I am Iron Man. And then, this thing does not snap very well. The glove wouldn't snap very well either, but he snaps, and then the screen kind of goes white, and then we look around, and then we just see armies turning to dust. The entire army of Thanos is now just fading away into little dust particles everywhere. Thanos' army is now dust. I don't know why I started talking in an accent. Thanos sits down on a rock, and we see him slowly turn to dust. And in my theater, everybody cheered because I was like, yeah, I got to watch Thanos die twice in a movie. You murdered all my favorite heroes, jerk. And then Iron Man backs up to a wall. Half of him is like 5th degree burned. And then he's sitting there. He's kind of dying. Pepper goes over. War Machine goes over. Spider-Man goes over. Sad with Spider-Man. And then we see the arc reactor on his chest just... And at that scene, yes, I said, I did cry during the scene. And it wasn't like I've already said, it wasn't like my crying with like The Hate You Give or Kind of Rough Breaks the Internet, honestly. It was like those movies I was like, okay, I might cry, I might shed a tear. But this one, I legitimately started like quivering lip, like, oh, this is really sad. Like I actually started crying. My friend looks over me and I just say, I'm legitimately crying right now. Like it really hurt. I was really sad. And then it cuts to kind of everybody's life. We see Spider-Man go back and he sees dead. And one thing I did find interesting is that nobody aged in that 5 years, right? How different is the world? The world can't just continue going on, can it? Really, it can't, because 5 years have passed. Whatever. Spider-Man was dead for 5 years. Like now I can say, guys, look, a lot of people on Earth, 4 billion, 3 billion so people, 4 billion, I don't know, billions of people can now say, I died for 5 years and then I was brought back to life. They can all say that now. That's kind of hilarious. Oh, I did forget to mention, there was a women's team-up scene in this, which I didn't really care for. I thought it was cool, I guess. All the women kind of stand there and they're like, we'll get that Infinity Gauntlet or something. I'm forgetting what happens in the scene. My head is scratching. But there is some like comic book about all the women superheroes, which would be cool if that was in some TV show or movie. I don't know. It'd be cool because I like Marvel, and the women superheroes are fine to me, so it'd be cool. I don't care for feminist propaganda. And then we get to see the funeral of Tony Stark, kind of. I don't know if I skipped over something. But I think we kind of get to see the funeral of Tony Stark. Pretty much every Marvel character is there. Captain Marvel standing at the top, kind of overseeing the whole thing. I'm kind of excited for Captain Marvel too, actually, after this movie. Pretty much every Avenger's there. Even Aunt May's there. All of the Wasp, Hank Pym is freaking there. Hank Pym's wife is there. There's a lot of people there, and I liked how they had like everybody they could at the funeral, and it was really sad because Iron Man died, and he's no longer in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then it's like, okay, we got to return all the stones back to their universes so those universes don't spiral into chaos. That'd be bad, wouldn't it? So Cap is the one. He goes up to the top, and I guess this isn't really the end, but he goes back in time, and when he goes back in time, we see, like, we're like assuming, all right, he's going back, he's replacing all the stones, and then they're like, all right, he'll be back soon, right? And then he goes past his one rendezvous point, and they're like, wait, I'm trying to get him back, I'm trying to get him back. They look over, specifically Winter Soldier and Sam, and they see Cap sitting just over there on a bench. They walk over, and it's old man Cap, and they're like, what did you do? And he's like, when I went back in time, and I replaced all the stones, I decided maybe I'd spend a bit more time. So what he actually does is he goes back in time, and he goes back probably literally right after he landed the jet in the water, and he goes to Peggy, and he lives a life with Peggy Carter, which is a really good conclusion to him. And then he comes back, and now he's old, and he's probably going to die really soon, but that's a really good conclusion to this character, because nonetheless, he actually gets to live a really good life. Nonetheless, you do have to think about how that isn't possible. There's no possibility he'd be sitting on the bench unless he physically went, I'm going to go to their universe right now. Right now, I'm just going to go to their universe. Because the only way that would have been possible is for him to have physically changed the timeline, like they said, couldn't happen. So when he goes back in time with Peggy Carter, he lives a life with Peggy Carter, he wouldn't actually come back to their universe. They never see him again. He would just live a life in there. But it's a good conclusion to his character, and it's nice to see him. He gives the shield to Falcon, and Falcon's like, okay, this is my shield now. And then we get to see Thor. He gives Valkyrie his new Asgard city, and he gets to go hang out with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is going to be rad, because I love Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor is going to be in Guardians 2. Come on, that's awesome. Or Guardians 3, which I'm actually excited for, because James Gunn actually is directing it. So yeah, he actually gets to be in that movie. And I'm going to make a video later talking about all the new things that are going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just Phase 4 in general, what I want to see, what movies I think will happen, and stuff like that. And I do know this, Endgame has made so much money right now, and yes, we'll talk about that tomorrow when it's really official. What the opening weekend is, what the actual worldwide opening was, and we'll check that out tomorrow. Apparently, right now, it's already outgrossed Captain Marvel. So, yeah. But the movie wraps up showing Cap and Peggy dancing, and then it ends. The movie ends. And I'm going to break down why I love this movie so much. Not only is this the perfect conclusion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is just a great movie. Nonetheless, if I do really look at it on this standpoint, on a writing standpoint, it's very good. Yes, it's very good on a writing standpoint. It's great. But why do I love this movie? Why do I think this movie is so much better than movies like Infinity War and Civil War? And those movies did nothing wrong to me. I think Civil War and Infinity War both did everything great. But what does an Endgame do that those movies just don't do? Well, first off, it's the conclusion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And second off, it perfectly wraps up everything. We get to go back to see kind of different things. We get to see new things that happen in Avengers. We get to see what the stupid doctors were doing. Or I guess the doctors, what? The wizards, what they were doing in the middle of the Battle of New York. We get to see what happens right after that one shot where they're all aiming their weapons at Loki, and he says, I think I'll have that drink now. We get to see what happens after, like immediately after that. We get to see little behind-the-scenes sneak peek things. This is, one thing I could say is this is a movie really made for fans. And I think that the excuse for Suicide Squad being a movie made for the fans and Batman v Superman being a movie made for the fans, when people defend the movie with those, that's bad. I can't defend this movie by saying it's made for the fans. Any criticism somebody who's not a fan gives this movie is completely valid in my opinion. Because the being made for the fans doesn't defend the movie. But for me, it's my own personal reasons why I love this movie. If I wasn't such a big Marvel fan, I really don't know what I think of the movie, to be honest, because I don't know a reality where that's not a thing. I'm such a huge Marvel fan, and this movie perfectly ended the cinematic universe, perfectly ended this part, at least, of the cinematic universe. It brings the final act of this movie, brings together everything. Some people have been like, I didn't like the first two acts as much as the final act. And yes, the final act's the best part of the movie, but those first two acts are a great conclusion to characters, making them learn stuff, making them see stuff, making them get to experience old parts of life. Those are really good moments to kind of reflect on the MCU. This whole movie's built to be the final movie of the MCU. It does feel like the Endgame. There's so many hilarious scenes in this movie. The comedy works. The comedy is there kind of to relieve tension, which I'm not always the biggest fan of. It's like super tense and then, comedy to relieve tension. It makes you really emotional. It's really, really sad and emotional. It's a great movie. It caps off this cinematic universe perfect way. As a whole, I think this is great. I don't think there could be a movie this year that's better. I'm not saying I think there won't be a movie this year. I'm thinking there can't be a movie this year that's better. There's literally one movie this year that has the slightest chance, and that's Star Wars 9. And I completely doubt that movie could beat this movie. I will watch this movie over and over and over again, and even though it's 3 hours, I adored it. I was never bored for a second. And I only think about how it's 3 hours when I really think about everything that happens. And there's so much that happens in this movie that when you think about it, you're like, alright, that was 3 hours long. But it's not like the most noticeable 3-hour movie. 3 hours, pretty long for a movie, but this movie never falls short. It's never boring. It's never anything like that. It's the perfect cap to the MCU. It ties up the MCU, It wraps up this part of the MCU so we can go on to see more characters. We're going to get to see more Spider-Man movies, more Captain Marvel, more Black Panther, more Doctor Strange, more Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope we get a movie after Guardians 3. Like, can we get Guardians 4 or something? Or can the Guardians of the Galaxy just never leave us, please? But as a whole, I barely see this as a movie. I see Infinity War as a movie. Some people are like, it's not a movie, it's experience. This is what I call more of an experience, or more of just a caption, or whatever. It's less of a movie than Infinity War. Not an insult at all. Not an insult. I'm never going to look at this movie the same light. Like, okay, so I love this movie so much. And one thing I really thought about is that when I think about fighting with my family, I love the movie so much because I'm like, I love how well written it is. I love how well the characters are done. In this movie, I think I just love what happens in it. I don't care about the quality of the writing or anything. I'm probably never going to think about, God, Endgame was so well written. Or, God, the movie had such good character development. Which it did. All those it did have. But I'm mainly going to think about, God, I loved what they did with that movie. I loved the events that happened in the movie. The events make me excited. I'm barely ever going to think about this movie. I'm going to be thinking about it as a fan, less of as a critic. Which, Russo brothers should be happy I'm thinking of this movie in that light. This is a fans movie. Fans will love this movie more than anybody else, which I think is fine. If you don't like this movie, whatever. I have noticed, like, your movie sucks. Didn't like it as much as Infinity War. I hate everything. Didn't like it as much as Infinity War. But if you don't like it as much as Infinity War, I don't care. You think whatever you want in it. It seems like everybody freaking loves it right now, and it's made $1 billion already. So I'm not surprised at all that everybody loves this movie. Come on, it's great. It's the caption. It's the cap onto this part of the MCU. Now we get more chapters, more characters, more origin stories, more MCU, and honestly, right when I walked into this movie, I thought, I can't wait for Far From Home. I can't wait to see more Marvel. And then I have to wait till May next year for more Marvel, which is kind of annoying, but Marvel's not ending. They better not end anytime soon, and we're probably going to get 1 billion more Marvel movies, and I can't wait. Marvel made the perfect conclusion of their franchise, and it is called Avengers Endgame. And this movie is great, and I love it, and it's might be the best movie I've seen ever. Honestly, it might be my new favorite movie. That's never happened before. I've never walked into a movie and thought that is my new favorite movie. That has, because The Dark Knight's always been my favorite movie, and I never saw that one in theaters. But yeah. Sorry about that. I have to go do something. Sorry about the whole little transition weirdo thing there. What do you guys think on Avengers Endgame? What are your spoilery thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. Like I said, May's going to be awesome. Apparently Rocket Man's are. Stupid. Why they do that? I don't know. Whatever. See you guys next time. Bye.